Hazleton, Pennsylvania, March 18, 1964. A bright, innocent 9-year-old girl leaves her home in the early morning, carrying a bag of canned goods for her teacher. She never makes it to school. Hours later, her life has been taken, and her body is found in a remote coal pit. What happened that morning would haunt an entire town for nearly 6 decades, and the identity of the person responsible would only be revealed thanks to technology that didn't even exist when she was alive. This is the haunting case of Marise Ann Chiverella, and how it became one of the oldest cold cases ever solved in the United States.
Marise Chiverella.
Chiverella. Marise Chiverella.
Marise Chiverella.
Marise Ann Chiverella.
Marise Ann Chiverella.
Marise Chiverella.
Marise Chiverella. Marise Chiverella.
The morning of March 18, 1964. Marise was the kind of child every parent dreamed of. Bright, disciplined, and deeply devoted to her faith. She lived with her parents and siblings in Hazleton, a small coal town in northeastern Pennsylvania. That Wednesday morning, the weather was brisk. Around 8:10 a.m., Marise left her home carrying a school bag and a few canned goods for her teacher. She planned to stop at St. Joseph's Parochial School before attending morning mass. It was a short walk, less than a mile. She'd made it countless times before, but on this day, she never arrived. The discovery. Around 1 p.m., just outside Hazleton Municipal Airport, a man and his nephew were walking through a coal refuse area, known locally as a stripping pit. That's when they noticed something unusual in the dirt. At first, they thought it might be a discarded mannequin, but as they got closer, they realized it was a child. Marise lay motionless. Her wrists and ankles were bound, and it was clear she had been the victim of a violent crime. Her clothing was disturbed, and her small frame was cold in the March air. The man called police immediately. Within minutes, the area was swarming with officers, but the scene yielded no obvious suspect, only sorrow and questions. The 1964 investigation. The Hazleton Police Department and Pennsylvania State Police launched a massive investigation. Detectives interviewed dozens of people, followed leads, and even questioned known offenders in the area. Yet for all their efforts, they hit a wall. The science of the time could not preserve or analyze evidence the way it can today. No eyewitnesses came forward. No fingerprints were found. Weeks turned to months, months to years. The case grew colder with each passing season, but for Marise's family, the pain never faded. A breakthrough in 2007. More than 40 years later, in 2007, forensic technology had advanced dramatically. Pennsylvania State Police decided to re-examine the evidence collected from the scene. On Marise's jacket, investigators found preserved biological material, and from it, they were able to build a complete DNA profile of the suspect. This was a major leap forward. The profile was entered into CODIS, the National DNA Database. But there was a problem. There was no match. Still, investigators checked the database every single month, hoping for a breakthrough. And for the next 15 years, they waited. Genetic genealogy enters the scene. By 2018, a new investigative tool was revolutionizing cold cases: genetic genealogy. Using public genealogy websites like GettyMatch, detectives could compare an unknown suspect's DNA to millions of profiles uploaded by people searching for relatives. In 2019, Pennsylvania State Police teamed up with Parabon Nanolabs, one of the leaders in this field. They uploaded the unknown suspect's DNA profile. Finally, a lead. The results showed a distant relative of the suspect, possibly a 6th cousin. Not much, but it was a start. The college student who cracked it in 2020, more than 5 decades after Marise's death, a surprising new force entered the investigation. A young man whose passion for family history would unlock the key to the case. Meet Eric Schubert, an 18-year-old freshman studying history at Elizabethtown College in about 80 miles from Hazleton. Eric wasn't part of any law enforcement agency. He was a genealogy enthusiast. His obsession with tracing family trees had begun when he was just 10 years old. When Eric learned through local news that the Pennsylvania State Police were still searching for answers in Marise's case, he reached out. "I'd love to help," he wrote in an email, "if I'm not stepping on any toes." A meeting was arranged at a coffee shop. Eric showed up prepared, portfolio in hand, charts, notes, and a quiet confidence that caught the team off guard. The lead investigator, Corporal Mark Barron, recalls being struck by the young man's professionalism. There's even a lighthearted moment. They offered him coffee, and he declined. "I don't drink coffee," Eric said. "Apple juice, please." And just like that, the teen genealogist became part of the investigative team. For the next 18 months, Eric devoted up to 20 hours each week to the case. He'd scour public records, analyze DNA matches, and assemble family trees, piecing together clues like a complex puzzle. He constructed around 50 full family trees, hunting for connections to the unknown DNA match that Parabon Nanolabs had discovered. Finally, Eric's persistence paid off. One branch traced to an immigrant from Italy who had settled in Hazleton in 1904, the grandfather of James Paul Fort. Eric then identified Fort's descendants who lived in the area in 1964. 2 brothers emerged as potential suspects. Both had passed away, but there was a glimmer of hope. One brother's wife had an old hairbrush containing DNA. A test ruled him out, leaving James Paul Fort as the focus. Corporal Barron would later describe Eric's approach as almost mystical. "The voodoo that Eric Schubert does is amazing. He provided a new lead almost daily, naming individuals and guiding detectives down fresh pathways. Who was James Paul Fort? Fort was 22 years old in 1964. He lived just a few blocks from Marise's home. At the time, he worked as a bartender and delivery driver. Fort also had a troubling criminal record. In 1974, he was arrested for a serious offense involving violence, later pleading guilty to aggravated assault and receiving probation. In 1978, he was charged with reckless endangerment and harassment. By 1980, Fort was dying at age 38 of natural causes in a local bar. He had never been suspected in Marise's case until now. The final DNA match. Because Fort had been deceased for decades, police needed to obtain a sample from his remains to confirm the match. With a court order, they exhumed his body and collected DNA. The results came back in early 2022. It was an exact match. After 58 years, investigators finally knew who had taken Marise's life. Announcing the solution. In February 2022, Pennsylvania State Police held a press conference. Standing before cameras and reporters, investigators named James Paul Forte as the person responsible for the crime. Marise's siblings were present. One of them, Carmen, spoke through tears. "Our parents always said they didn't want revenge. They just wanted justice. Now we have an answer. We can finally put this part of our lives to rest." Why this case matters. The loss of Marise Chiverella is now one of the oldest cases solved through genetic genealogy in the United States. It shows how far science and determination can go to uncover the truth, even after decades. It's also a reminder that sometimes justice moves slowly, but it can still arrive. Marise was just 9 years old. She had dreams, a loving family, and a whole life ahead of her. This case is a testament to the tireless work of law enforcement, the power of technology, and the determination of people like Eric Schubert to give a voice to the voiceless. If you found this case as haunting and inspiring as I did, please consider sharing this video so more people can see how persistence can lead to justice, no matter how long it takes. And don't forget to watch our previous documentary on Australia's most notorious serial offender who targeted hitchhikers. Link in the description and the end screen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon for more hard-hitting documentaries. Till then, be safe, be alert, and be aware.